Thanks for staying with us. Welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Joke Rogers. Coming up on the program today. Third Ogun State Investment Forum ends as investors give feedback to the state government, while the Agric Minister asks youth in the state to embrace agriculture. Also on the program, medical doctors in Kwara State stay away from work as a 5-day warning strike begins across the country. And Governor Simon Lalong signs Plateau State's budget into law. Well, it's news across Nigeria, but today we're beginning in London. President Muhammadu Buhari has been reacting to the comments by the British Prime Minister David Cameron that Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. The president, who was speaking at the Tackling Corruption Conference, which is a pre-summit event in London, told his audience that he's not going to demand any apology from anybody. The president said what is uppermost in his mind is the return of assets and funds stashed away in Britain and other countries back to Nigeria. The president says Britain should be prepared to hand over to Nigeria assets left by former government officials.
As a prelude to the main summit, over 70 senior government officials, civil society organizations and members of the business community gather here at the Marlborough House for a conference tagged Tackling Corruption Together.
Mr. President, should Mr. Cameron apologise?
President Muhammadu Buhari joins them as the keynote speaker. He says under the rule of law, he will fight corruption even if his feathers have to be ruffled. He wants the repatriation of corrupt proceeds and calls for international anti-corruption infrastructure to trace and return stolen funds.
This evil practice is manifested in the plundering and stealing of public funds, which are then transferred abroad in secret accounts. I therefore call for the establishment of an international anti-corruption infrastructure that will monitor, trace and facilitate the return of such assets to their countries of origin.
It turns out to be an interactive session, and many would want to know if the Nigerian president will demand an apology from the British Prime Minister over his sweeping statement about corruption in Nigeria.
Yes, no, I am not going to demand any apology from anybody. What I am demanding is the return of assets. I have already mentioned how Britain really led and how disgraceful one of the Nigerian executive was. He has to dress like a woman to leave Britain and leave behind his bank account and fixed assets, which Britain is prepared to hand over to us. This is what I'm asking for. What would I do with apology? I need something tangible.
The president's speech also elicited reactions from some prominent Nigerians at the conference.
Some of us will have wanted him to join issues with the British Prime Minister, Mr. David Cameron. But I think during the question and answer session, he was able to address that, the insulting comment by Mr. Cameron.
It's very important for us to come together in a day like this, because the fight against corruption cannot be done by one person. Nobody has the monopoly of knowledge to fight corruption. So it is very, very necessary that we pull out our house in the same house, and then we fight together.
Speaker after speaker say that endemic corruption can be wiped out. According to them, corruption is man-made, and it is within man's capability to end it. Hence the gathering in London. Chukwuma Onwekusi in London for Channels Television News.
Back in Nigeria, the third Ogun State Investment Forum has ended in Abeokuta, the state's capital. Today's session, the state government received feedbacks from manufacturers and investors operating in the state. Representatives of 6 companies were on hand to share their experiences on the operating environment that the state provides. While all agree that Ogun State is a conducive environment for businesses, they also believe there's more that needs to be done. The CEOs say there's a need to collaborate over the logistics of waste disposal and decentralize power in order to avoid creating private sector monopolies. The host governor, Ibukunle Amosun, who declared the forum closed, says the state government is not resting on its laurels, but is working hard to increase infrastructure, security and policies for more friendly to investments and to attract more investors.
Agriculture, we must continue to be until when we get it right. In fact, I want to even believe that even when seemingly we think we've gotten it right, agriculture must be the driver, because agriculture that will lead us to industrialization, that will take the full advantage of the value chain that agriculture offers. That is what we seek to achieve. So we have listened to all of you, and I want to believe that it has never been really. It will not just be a talk show. We are going to walk our talk, and all of this, you see, I listened to the communique, and I was even taking, just like she said, some of the things that I said, oh, okay, yes. What about this? Yes, when she got to the point. All of those have been noted, and I can assure you, even before the end of the year, you will see that we'll have started the implementation of so many of these ideas that have been brought up. In the area of irrigation, I'm sure that you will see a lot of tremendous improvements, because we have engaged the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, who in turn have engaged our River Basin Development Authority here. And they have, I think, about 7 sites. They've given us, I think, about 4 now. And you will see that. So we can plant all year round. I believe that infrastructure is key as well. They are catalysts that will spawn development, that will bring about development. Without them, I don't think people will want to even come there, really. If you come to Ogun State today, you come to any state, and you realize that all the infrastructures are not in place, you will not want to come back there again.
That's the Ogun State Governor, Ibukunle Amosun. Before the governor's closing remarks, the Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Audu Ogbe, emphasized the role of agriculture in diversifying the nation's economy. Mr. Ogbe, who was speaking at the third Ogun Investors Forum, says the rural areas should be involved in the development plan of the country in order to help drive agricultural revolution. He also insists that young people must participate in the sector so they can feed themselves in the nearest future.
The unfortunate thing about agriculture in this country is that it has, over the years, been the most abandoned, ignored, and perhaps ridiculed of all professions. What should we do that we haven't done? We should have invested oil revenues in developing agriculture like Malaysia did, but we didn't. The food import bill in this country is a total of nearly $22 billion per annum. A luxury we can no longer afford because oil prices have simply fallen. Our development effort can never go really far if we do not involve the rural areas. And the business of the rural areas is essentially agriculture. We are now emphasizing agricultural development because we have no choice. Also because it is the biggest employer of labor, the biggest contributor to GDP, and I hope it rises from 22 to 40 in the next 3 years. So young people, before you reach my age and acquire the gray hair on my head, let me say to you, you have to join and participate in agriculture. Why? Our population is rising very fast. By 2050, Nigeria will be 450 million, if not more. The world will have 9 billion people. Nigeria will have 5% of that population. Nigeria will be the 3rd most populated country on planet Earth. 75% of the population would have migrated to the cities, leaving 25% in the villages. Question I want to ask, can 25% of the populace feed itself and feed 75% in the cities? I doubt it.
Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbe. When we come back on news across Nigeria, we will take a look at some other stories. The governor of Nasarawa State inspects road projects across the state. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.